Hi Toddler parents, it's Michelle again. I have some new activities for you to try this upcoming week. I tried to come up with activities that were relatively simple to put together, again with materials that you have around your house. So let's get started. The first activity that I have, all you need is a container. I have an old breadcrumb container that is empty. You could also use a coffee container, any container that has a top like this, a plastic top that you can actually cut. So what I did is I took a knife and I just cut a slit in the top and I put it back on. Then most of us have a deck of cards. If you don't have a deck of cards, index cards would work. Any even small envelopes might work if your container's big enough, but hoping that most of you have some cards. So I have an old deck of Uno cards, and all you're going to do is give the cards to your toddler with a container, show them how to do this first, but what they're going to do and what you're going to show them is take the card and insert it into the opening. And they can keep going like so. And they can keep doing this either until the deck of cards runs out or they start to lose interest. Some of them will do it for longer than others. And when they're done, maybe you can encourage them to take the top off themselves, see if they can figure out how to get the top off, pop it off, and dump the cards out. And then they can either try again or move on to the next activity, which I'm going to show you now. So the next activity that I have is very simple. And actually it will take a lot of space. It's probably something you'd want to do on the floor, but because we're filming right here, I'm going to show you in this area. But spreading this out on the floor would probably be a great idea. What you want to do is take a variety of pots and pans that you have that have lids. Very simple. Let me see if I can get these so you can see them all. And what you're going to do, very simple, is just take the top, mix them up. Mix up the pots and pans, make sure that they're not next to the matching top. So you're gonna have them all mixed up, spread out a little bit, and then you're going to first explain to your toddlers that, for instance, this top, if they put it on, is too big. And talk to them about that. Ask them if it looks right. No, it does not look right, obviously. It's too big. So they're going to try again. Then they can try a different pan. Now it's too small for this pan. And let them keep practicing after you've demonstrated that this is the right size. So just a simple matching the correct pots and pans with the correct lids is a fun activity, especially for some of our younger toddlers, and I think this is something that they would really enjoy. So mix up those pots and pans with the tops. If you have a cabinet full that aren't together, this would be a great time to get them sorted out and have a fun activity for your toddler to do. So that's one other activity. Now another activity that I have, again, is very simple. It's a math activity. What you're going to do is take a sheet of paper. You can also print similar papers to this online. I just quickly wrote it up. It just was faster than looking it up and turning my printer on. But you can certainly find something online and print it that's similar. I'm going to just have numbers. Again, as I've said in the past, just go up to whatever number your toddler is comfortable with. It could be 1, 2, and 3. It could be higher than 10. It really is depending on what level your child is at. And then you're going to give them a snack of small bite-sized foods. So I have goldfish here. You could use Cheerios, you could use fruit snacks, any snack that you don't mind them having a few bites of, because they certainly will probably try to eat some while they're working, or it can be something that they can have once they've completed the activity. Then they're allowed to have this snack to eat. If you don't want them to put the food right directly on the paper, you can always take a piece of saran wrap and put that over the paper. You could also take your paper and put it in a gallon size Ziploc bag, and then it will keep it covered and protected. They can just, when it lays down, put the food on top of it, and very simply, one goldfish or one piece of Cheerios or whatever food you're using would go into one circle. Number 2, they would count out 2 goldfish, 3, and this is something they can do on their own, or you can do that with them and help them count. especially for our younger students. And then let them finish the sheet, and again, once they're done with the sheet, then they can eat the snack that they've been working with, if it's okay with you. So that's a math activity that they could do this week. Now, a very simple activity that I came up with for our younger toddlers that really need to practice using zippers, great fine motor skill, and it's one of the most difficult things for toddlers to do, is to zip up their coat and to become independent with their coats. So a way to practice zipping without actually having to worry about putting the two sides of the zipper together, if you have a pouch with a zipper on it, take something and put it in the pouch that your toddler would be motivated to get. So for instance, in mine, I put a little Twix bar. If the Easter Bunny maybe leaves some candy, you can hide some candy in there and tell your child that it is in there and they need to unzip the pouch to get it. You could also use a little toy, a sticker, any object that you think would be motivating for your toddler. Let them have it and let them practice pulling on the zipper. Again, for our younger toddlers, this is a great skill. Sometimes if you have a pouch that has a double zipper, like this one, you could even hide it inside so they have two zippers to get through, to get to the object that you have hidden. So this is very, very simple, but great fine motor, great practice using a zipper for our younger toddlers. So that is a third activity. Now, an activity that I came up with for language. What you're going to do is take a piece of paper and write all of these letters on it. Again, these are the letters that we start with in our toddler class. You can certainly use other letters. If you want to use the letters that are in their name, you could do that as well. But the letters that we start with in toddler are S, T, M, B, and T. And what you're going to do as you introduce these to your child and remind them of what they are, you're going to give them the letter sound, not the actual letter name. That is how we teach at our school. Just a way of helping them to recognize what the letter sounds are as opposed to just knowing what the names of the letters are. So that's a good start to their reading skills. So what you're going to do after you write the letters all down randomly on a piece of paper, you're going to take little pieces of paper, and I just cut up Post-it notes, and you're going to write each letter that is on the larger paper on these smaller pieces of paper, and your child is going to match. So right here I have a T, or a T is how you're going to introduce it to them, and then they can match up and put the T right over the T. And as they do this, the paper will be laying flat, so they can just lay it right down on the paper. So they're going to find another T, lay it down on the T, the S, they can put on the S, and so on. Now, if you don't have time, I know a lot of you are very, very busy, we're all very busy, but if you don't have time, you could also sit with your toddler and just write each letter just on one bigger piece of paper, and ask your toddler, give them the letter, say this is A, and then have them look at the paper and point and use this as a guide. They can point to the matching letter on the paper. So all of the A's they would point to. And then you could do the S with them, and they could point to the S. If you have stickers at home, they could also put a sticker over the letter, and they can have this bigger piece of paper with the letter on it as a guide if you don't want to take the time or don't have the time to cut up the smaller individual letters, which can be a little time consuming, but it is doable. But again, this is a great alternative, and it still helps them to start to learn the letters, letter sounds, and be able to identify them when they see them in writing. So that is a language activity for you. And our final activity today, I'm going to roll up our mat because it's a water work. We don't want to get our mats wet. So what you're going to do, and I used these clear plastic containers so that it was easier to see, but you could certainly use any bowls that you have. And I put some water in one bowl. I have a slotted spoon. I used plastic Easter eggs that float. If you don't have plastic Easter eggs in your house, you could also use any floating object, any toys that float that can get wet. And then very simply, you're just going to show your toddler first, demonstrate, and then let them do it on their own. They're just going to take the spoon and scoop the objects out of the water and put it into the other container, like so. And the reason we use a slotted spoon, of course, is so that they're not scooping up a ton of water and having it go into the other bowl, and it just kind of helps keep the spills down to a minimum. You also would want to give your toddler a little towel or a sponge to wipe up any drips, and explain to them that the towel or sponge is just for the drips. A lot of them like to just put it right in the water when we do water work in class, so maybe demonstrate if they spill a little bit that they can wipe up their drips on their own. And then when they're done, they can pour them back in and do it again. So I hope you liked all of these activities. As always, if you have any questions about any of them, please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope you all had a great weekend and have a great upcoming week. And hopefully we'll see some of you on our Zoom calls this week. And I hope to see you all in person soon. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.